we've kind of made a differentiation here between Zionism and Judaism. But when you look at the religion from a Quran and Hadith perspective, could we say there is an actual differentiation? Obviously, these people who are these Jews that have come out, and rightfully so, they're holding the Palestinian flags in their hands, they're showing support for Palestine. But towards the end of it, would you say the Zionist and the Jewish agenda is the same, or there is a clean differentiation between the two?
Yeah, there's a clear differentiation, because if you just have the term Zionism, you have many Christians who are Zionist. Okay. You have many churches that are Zionist churches that are pushing. They're Christian, but they're pushing for Israel to ethnically cleanse Palestinians. And this is also like a religious basis that the Christians have. The Christians believe that in order for Jesus to return in the final days, that the children of Israel must control the temple and rebuild the temple. And this is Masjid al-Aqsa. So they want Israel to take over Masjid al-Aqsa for their own theological or eschatological purposes. So they are also considered to be Zionists in their political outlook. But Jew is a racial term. Jew is defined by your matrilineal line. So it is a bloodline to be Jewish. And so you can have a atheist Jew. You can even have a Muslim Jew. You can have Jews who are ethnically Jewish, but they become Muslim. And I know many ethnic Jews who are beautiful Muslim brothers, and they're working for the sake of Allah and the cause of Allah. So you have to make the correct distinctions when it comes to Jews as a race, as opposed to Judaism and then Zionism. So Judaism, you can say that Judaism and Zionism, they are, very closely linked. But to then extend that to Jews as a race, that's just factually not the case, because you have many Jews who are actually Muslim. Or they're Jews who oppose the Bible. They're Jews who oppose Zionism. So we have to make these kinds of nuances. They're important. Otherwise, we potentially can fall into dhulm or saying the wrong thing.
Many Muslims, majority of the Muslims, I'd say obviously, who are ignorant of the issue or they don't know the background to the issue, they do not realize that this whole concept of Israel and the conflict with Palestine, it's pivotal and it's linked to Masjid al-Aqsa. I think for the viewers and for the wider audience, alhamdulillah, we've seen even in the UK, and I'm pretty sure in the USA as well, the ulama are discussing Masjid al-Aqsa. They're talking about the virtue of Masjid al-Aqsa. But I think if you could just explain how the link with Zionism, Masjid al-Aqsa, because it's very important. Like, obviously, when I was looking at it, there was a few programs where I've seen where they're talking about Masjid al-Aqsa, and I was just looking at it from a critical angle, thinking, what would the awam, the locals be thinking? There's a Israel and Palestinian conflict, and then my local imam is just talking about Masjid al-Aqsa. He's not really talking about the main cause, and people actually fall into that thinking, Masjid al-Aqsa, but it's Gaza. Why? What's going on here? It's totally, Asman, like they're saying, Urdu Asman, Zameen ka farq, difference between the heavens and the earth. So I think that link between Zionism, what the agenda is, what it stands for, what the ugly face of this, ideology is in relation to Masjid al-Aqsa. If you can maybe touch on that, inshallah.
Yeah, so there are multiple dimensions. We are standing with our Palestinian brothers and sisters, even if it wasn't in that holy land. And Masjid, it was not part of any of the holy precincts or lands of Islam. So just like we stand for the Muslims of Kashmir or the Rohingya or the Uyghur, they're not connected to any specific holy place or muqaddas place. But when it comes to Palestine, there is this important dimension that we do have Masjid al-Aqsa, and our Palestinian brothers and sisters are serving as a kind of guardians of that precinct of Masjid al-Aqsa. And so that adds an extra significance to their effort, their juhud against the Zionist occupier and invader. What the significance of Masjid al-Aqsa is, it has significance in Christianity, it has significance in Judaism. There is the site of Masjid al-Aqsa is considered to be the site of the temple, the first temple that was destroyed, the second temple that was destroyed by the Romans, and the Jews believe that a third temple is to be built, and that's when their Messiah is going to come. And their Messiah, of course, is the Antichrist that we know. So that is the significance of Masjid al-Aqsa. What has happened in the past few years is that Zionists have come to Masjid al-Aqsa and done sacrifices, sacrificing lambs or cows in Masjid al-Aqsa or on the border of it, even though they're technically not allowed by the Israeli government, but the Israeli government looks the other way. And what they're trying to do is open up Masjid al-Aqsa and bring, according to their beliefs, certain events that will lead to taking over Masjid al-Aqsa so that they can build the third temple for their Messiah. So that kind of provocation is what a lot of Palestinians have responded to protect Masjid al-Aqsa from this type of incursion by the Zionists. So this is something that is very critical and crucial part of this entire situation that a lot of people might not be aware of. But they're trying to bring Akhir Zaman, basically. They're trying to bring it, but it's connected, because also the significance of the temple in Judaism is that the temple is the place where all the sacrifices and prayers are supposed to happen. So when the temple was destroyed, the second temple was destroyed, it basically meant the destruction of the Jewish religion, and the rabbis had to reinvent and come up with basically rabbinic Judaism to replace their previous Judaism. Because if you look at the Bible, the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Bible rather, and you look at their fiqh, so much of it revolves around doing sacrifices, burnt offerings, a blood sacrifice of animals at the temple daily. That is their rituals that they must do according to the Bible. And the 10 Commandments that's often referred to, so many of the commandments have to do with these types of offerings that are meant to happen at the temple, specifically one place. It's not like you can have different masajid or different synagogues. You have one central temple, and then all of the sacrifices have to happen there. Christians believe that the old law has been abrogated, it's mansukh. Why? Because Jesus was the sacrifice. Jesus was the final offering. Therefore, all of these other offerings that are commanded in the Old Testament are no longer applicable, because the ultimate sacrifice has been made of God, sacrificing his son, which is also himself. How does that make sense? I don't know. But that site is also significant for Christians. It's significant for Jews, and obviously it's Masjid al-Aqsa. So this is really the context, the religious, theological context behind what is happening right now.
You mentioned rabbinic Judaism, if that's the term you refer to. So I'm guessing that's the rabbis actually creating or writing up a religion of their own. Am I right with regards to rabbinic Judaism? Or?
They had to basically reinvent many things, because so much of their religion relied on the existence of a temple. So when it was actually destroyed by the Romans the second time, the second temple was destroyed, then they had to revise their religion and create other types of ways to pray, other ways to go through rituals, because so much was tied or contingent on the existence of a temple, and it no longer exists. So and this is historically acknowledged, the development of rabbinic Judaism. Like Judaism is often claimed to be like the oldest monotheism, but this is actually not the case. If you look at ancient strands of Judaism, and the proof of this is in things like the Dead Sea Scrolls, like different kinds of old manuscripts that have been discovered that are also from Jews, that describe, idolatry, or describe henotheism or polytheism as part of the theology of other sects and other groups of Jews. And so there seems to be multiple different Jewish practices or sects that then came together and were consolidated and ultimately became rabbinic Judaism. And you can see traces, academics and historians say that this is the case because they see the traces of it within even the Bible that Jews read today. There are verses that admit that there are other gods, or say that there are other gods, or a council of gods. There are verses like that, and the Son of God. So what do these references to other gods mean? Isn't Judaism supposed to be a monotheistic religion? If so, then why do we have some verses that are, some verses are strictly monotheistic, like there are no other gods other than me, and there are other verses that are talking about council of gods, so this seems to be contradictory. There are all these kinds of contradictions that exist within the Hebrew Bible, and the historical academic understanding is that these different versions of the Bible were consolidated and edited. So like the academic understanding is that tahrif, the corruption of text, that there was, editing and changing, not on small little issues, but even big issues of theology, like how many gods are there? Is it one or multiple? There have been editing and compilation into one text, and then even that has gone through changes up until our current day.